Let me tell you a story all about how
I'm recording now.
My life got turned upside down.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Skagit Storytellers. I have Spencer as my guest today for my intro.
Hello.
AJ and Jackson, they stopped by the studio a few weeks ago to discuss the feature-length new film, locally filmed in concrete, called Devil's Tower. You will not meet a more passionate 22-year-old artist than AJ. He's been on my podcast before to talk about his short film called Hockett. You can search Hockett, Hockett, on YouTube. I think it's about 20 minutes long or so, his first horror movie. Check out AJ's previous podcast episode. A big story in the first episode we did was the story of how AJ found his new Hockett, the new guy to play the bad guy. Well, that completely fell through. But he found Jackson, and the story of how he found Jackson is really cool. Did I tell you about it, Spencer?
Briefly, but
okay, it's really good. So we go into depth about that. So Jackson's the star of the new movie, the new star of the new movie, and the relationship between the two guys is pretty cute. It's kind of like Brennan and Dale, from Step Brothers.
Yeah.
Like you can tell they really love each other, and they're very inappropriate, and I'm sure they fight like brothers sometimes. And also joining us in the studio was Jackson's girlfriend, Bambi. So she jumps on the mic for a few minutes. Jackson runs a wrestling organization in Spokane called Relentless Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Their Instagram handle is at RelentlessPNW on Instagram. If you're ever over there, check them out. You might be able to see a show.
Next time we roll through that area.
I grew up watching wrestling, and I remember my mom told me it was fake. And then my grandma was like, no, it's real. And I was like, Grandma says it's real, so it's real. And I'm a bit older than you, so when I was a kid, I'd watch Jake the Snake and the Bushwhackers.
Nice.
And I think The Undertaker was around then.
Undertaker was, I think,
watching
mid to late
guys.
80s when he started.
But he's still on.
He's actually, I think he's at this point officially retired now.
Okay.
He for a long time, like when I was really into wrestling, when I was in middle school, like actually it was probably more like 6th grade. I think I started watching it, 6th or 7th. Anyways, he was pretty big then for a couple of years, and then once I got out of high school, he was on this routine where he would basically just wrestle the couple of months leading into WrestleMania, because he had his undefeated streak there. And then he would basically just slowly slim that down more and more and more to the point where it's like he'd show up out of nowhere 2 weeks before WrestleMania and just challenge somebody, and then they would slap him in there and he'd have a match.
What was that wrestling movie that we watched a few months ago? The
one with the Von Erichs, where it's got...
The Family?
Yeah, where it's got Zac Efron.
Yeah, that was really good.
The guy, Jeremy something from... Jeremy Allen, whatever, from The Bear. That was good. I can't remember the name of that.
Yeah, so in addition to watching the Vince Vaughn one, you should watch that one too.
That one was very good. That one's cool. Like, the Vince Vaughn is more like... for, I guess, wrestling fans, but that movie is pretty good even if you don't care about wrestling.
So movies, wrestling. Spencer is there. Pretty much nothing is practicing a lot these days.
Yeah, we're getting ready for the upcoming shows here in March. We got 3 in March.
Mardi Gras, March 1st. Pretty much nothing. Supremo. Something Strange. Mild Mallard. And District Forgotten. And then special guests. Yes.
Okay.
Probably more. I'm guessing more than one special guest. Tickets are only $10. It's not like the Muse. Actually, now it's called the Arcadian Public House. The Arcadian Public House sells out, and you could just show up there and not get a ticket. It's not going to happen in concrete. We're going to let thousands of people come in. So come on up on March 1st. You think there'll be more than 1,000? Is that why you laughed?
Oh, easily.
A mill.
It's going to be tough to find parking for the first 1,000. Everybody else is going to be out of county, I think.
Park out of county.
Yeah.
So March 1st, and then you have a few other shows. The only other big show that I wanted to announce too was Benny Seidlinger and Natural Israel, and the Bell Founders, that's his band, on Saturday, March 29th at the Arcadian Public House, formerly the Conway Muse. That's definitely going to sell out, so get your tickets now.
And as soon as you're done, don't end the night there. Come on down to Cats.
Oh, right. That's the night you're playing Cats.
Shoot on down, cross town to Cats.
Yeah, there'll probably be 2 more bands before pretty much nothing goes up.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
The other thing I wanted to mention, too, was last week was the first meeting for the Skagit Storytellers Podcast Writers Support Group. We had our first meeting on Friday, and it was Izzy and I. We showed up, and we did the work. Olive had violin 4:30 to 5:30 in the other room in the library. She volunteers for a program that teaches kids how to play violin, and they even provide the violins. She was doing that, and then she just walked over when she was done, and she wrote a few pages of her new dragon book. So, yeah, it was a good time. So if you want to hang out with us on February 28th, it's a Friday, come on down. I believe the room holds 15 people, so there's plenty of space. 5 to 6 o'clock at the Central Skagit Library.
Where you can also find City Slickers 1 and 2 coming soon.
Don't let the movies distract you. It's really like going to Blockbuster, though.
It's a lot of fun. Raiders suck. Celtics beat the Cavs tonight.
Do you want to talk about Pete Carroll?
Oh, yeah. There is good news on the horizon.
You're excited about that?
Pete Carroll. Very happy about that.
How long did he coach the Seahawks for?
Goodness gracious. I think like 14 years.
No.
It was insane. Yeah.
No way. Do you have your phone on you? Look it up right now.
Because he coached
14?
That might be a little high, but I mean, he coached USC. Gosh, I want to say in like 2001, 2, 3, something like that, and they won.
Please give me a prediction for the Super Bowl.
Well, you're not going to like this because I know
Why?
you want it to be a blowout, so I'll go to the show with you.
Oh, yes, Bad Posture Club in Bellingham.
So, yes, basically, if it's a blowout at the first half, I told her I would go to the show with her because she doesn't have to leave until around 5, so I figured it'll be close to halftime.
Who's playing again?
It's the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Well, I want the Eagles to win just because my friend Ryan's a huge Eagles fan, and that'd be cool for him.
I think at this point, it's become like it was with the Patriots now, where if you ask anybody, a majority of the people are going to say that they want the Eagles to win, unless they've been, long-time Chiefs fans or have jumped on the bandwagon over the last couple of years. I think it's to the point where there's a lot of people that really don't like the Chiefs because now it's like everyone's saying the refs are, basically throwing the game in the Chiefs' favor a lot now. And so, but if I had to make a prediction, I'm going to go with the conspiracy theory and say that it's probably going to be a close game. I think it'll be similar to the first one. I think the Eagles will come out and look really good. Saquon Barkley will probably have a couple quick touchdowns, maybe be like 17-7 at halftime. Chiefs get the ball, start the second half, touchdown. Eagles get maybe inside the red zone and then some kind of crazy turnover. Chiefs go down, take the lead. Somehow we get to the end where the Chiefs are up or are tied, have the ball at the end, throw like a crazy throw, some stupid penalty. They get it to where the flag is. Butker kicks the winner. The Chiefs three-peat. And then the internet goes crazy with more conspiracy theories and hate towards the Chiefs. And then we come storming in next year and we save the day for the entire universe, and everybody loves the Raiders because we're the only team that's done it.
Spencer, is there anything else we need to say?
You stay classy, Skagit County.
Is that your tagline?
Yeah,
for your new podcast.
I probably shouldn't say that. We might get in trouble.
We'll think of a tagline for next time.
I hope nobody poops their pants. No, that won't work either. Cut that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right, guys. Enjoy your week. Be of use and go do something hard.
Welcome to one of the most northern parts of the United States of America. Travel with me upriver as we talk to a bunch of ladies and fellers and they share their tales of wit and wisdom. That's right, it's time again for Skagit Storytellers.
It's hard to look you right in the eye and say your name. Liz Duffy.
We should put that whole clip in.
Okay. Sure.
It's been over a year?
Over a year?
Since we recorded.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But
did you get lots of fan mail? Lots of feedback?
No, we didn't. And we didn't even get the guy to play Hockett that I talked about for like half of that last episode. I remember saying that this is going to be really embarrassing if it's not, if he doesn't do it. So I told that whole story and then he didn't do it.
But it was still a great story.
It's still a good story, and it's almost funnier that.
And now we have another story.
We do have another story
of Jackson. Yeah,
lots of stories.
You guys are here to talk about the new movie.
That's right.
And I think at this point, we had talked a few months ago. I think you had thought that it was going to be released already.
It was, yeah. I thought
we were going to do a red carpet at the theater.
A whole thing. Yeah. Well, I wanted to have it out, the seasonal thing, Halloween and everything. But honestly, I wish I had a more convenient answer, like there was a natural disaster or I really messed something up really bad, but it just kind of plain and simple just took longer than I thought it would. So there was a point where I was really, really stressed out because I thought, gee, I could really put something together, like something you can watch from start to finish and put this out in October. But I thought I'm kind of going to beat myself up forever if it's not 100% of what I wanted it to be. So I had to swallow my pride and make a couple embarrassing phone calls and say, hey, so we're going to delay that back. And I made another embarrassing phone call to Jackson. I said, hey, Jackson, can you come back to Concrete and do more of this? Because I'm not, I still want to do more on this movie. So that's pretty much how it went. Now, I think that I've definitely... Now I'm definitely more antsy to even give a tentative release date because I feel like I did one and then I had to tell everybody that we were going to push it. So I'll say it's 2025, but I don't, and I have an idea in my head, but I feel like the minute I say it, it doesn't happen. So now I'm very afraid of jinxing myself.
So did you just jinx it by saying 2025?
Maybe so. 2026. Jackson, you're coming back. You're stuck here.
No, we can't knock on the wood.
Oh, that's right.
Halloween 2026.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Or earlier.
Or earlier. That sounds great. That sounds.
Yes. All right. So I think the biggest difference from your film Hockett, the first one, is this going to be Hockett 2?
This one's going to be called Devil's Tower is the name of this one.
Okay, but essentially it's a sequel?
It is a sequel. So basically the sort of confusing naming convention is, so the first one's a short film that we did, and this is going to be a full feature-length thing.
Full length?
Yeah.
Because the first one, you say short, but it's a long some short movies are 90 minutes. It was 20 minutes.
Yeah. So it's...
And how long will this one be?
Probably an hour 20 and maybe hour 25 is what it's looking like. And tack credits on there might be a little longer. But basically, this is a feature-length thing. And when you sell that figuratively and literally, that's just a different... You can sell that differently than a short film, which is, hey, come see my short film, versus you really say, I've made a movie when you've done an hour and a half. And so it's a tricky thing to try to put that out and say, oh, it's Hockett 2 and Hockett 1 is a short film, which kind of is just sort of is a format change there. And because this movie, it has the same situation of it's still, a killer cement worker up in Devil's Tower killing people, but all the guys in the last one didn't make it out so good. So it's a whole new cast. It's a whole new situation, basically. So you don't have to watch the last one. So I just thought, okay, go for a new title here. It keeps the continuity, but it's really its own. This is the first feature-length movie we've done, so I wanted to not pigeonhole it into a number 2. I also thought the name Devil's Tower was a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And I also liked, before they messed it up, that there was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. The numbers and all that, came later. I liked it when it was 3 movies. They each had their own name, and they were all connected, and everybody got it. You didn't need the episode numbers. Indiana Jones, I like that same naming convention as well. I never really liked numbers in sequel names. So that's my really long, convoluted answer to why this one's Devil's Tower, the last one's Hockett.
Well, this is a podcast, and we need to fill at least an hour and a half.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm glad you don't have short answers.
I never do.
Jackson's nodding. Yes. No.
He likes to talk a lot. Let me put 2 T's on the end of that one.
Okay.
Our conversations are never less than 35 minutes.
No, not at all.
No, it's great. So, yeah, like you mentioned before, I think one of the biggest stories in our last podcast was how you found the new villain, and then it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So we have Jackson sitting here. How did you find Jackson?
So basically, to give a slight cap on the Yeti thing, he was supposed to be the last guy. And after I talked to you, things got even more certain like it was going to be Yeti. We talked a bunch about it. I even had him try on the costume and everything. And it seemed like it was going to go good, but we got to talking in the winter more and more, and he just came down to saying he had all this work stuff going on. The schedule just didn't match up. And so it was a bummer, and I said, okay, well, this is just not going to work. But then I was like, well, who else can I even get to do this? Because we had the whole conundrum of matching a guy who was 6'6", and I thought anybody shorter is not going to sell as well. We can't do a bigger movie and follow up, and then the killer is less intimidating or less imposing. I just thought we're really in a bad situation. This movie could be a 10 out of 10. If the killer doesn't work, we're really, really, really screwed. So finding him I started making really desperate phone calls to people saying, do you know anybody over this height, this weight, or whatever? And got a lot of no's. I called random people that I met like just once in concrete. Do you know anybody who's this side, like neighbors? I was kind of going crazy about it. I interviewed some really strange people in all kinds of different cities about it. But I called my friend Jason, who I went to high school with, who lives up in Bellingham now, and he had gotten into just the local pro wrestling scene. And he liked it in high school, and he got into it going into college. And I called him, and I said, I feel like wrestlers are big guys. Do you know anybody? It's kind of like it's very physical. You get some stunt experience. They're athletes. So I said, do you know anybody who actually might want to do this? And he said, nobody over here. All the guys he works with, he said, are like small and kind of, they do all the high-flying, flippy stunts. And so he was like, no, these guys aren't really humongous. And I said, oh, that's a bummer. He goes, well, there's one guy that you might want to talk to, but he's really far away. He's in Spokane, but you might want to talk to him. He's a nice guy, and, everybody likes him. So I said, okay. And I said, well, who is this guy? And he said, well, he's 7 feet tall. He said, he's the biggest motherfucker you'll ever see. And I said, that's pretty much an exact quote. And I said, okay. So he said, look up his Instagram. I looked up Jackson's Instagram, and then I sent him an unsolicited DM with my best sales pitch. And so then we had a Zoom call, and we talked out that from there. Jackson, how does that sound as far as a good recollection?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It was accurate. Okay. That's exactly what happened.
Okay. So that's exactly what happened. Well, how did you feel about I've never heard your side of the DM and the Zoom call.
Yeah, what did you think when you first opened your DMs and saw AJ in there?
Okay, so here's some fun stuff you guys can learn about. All right, so I've been wrestling since 2017. Been very on and off just because of health issues, and there was COVID and all that good stuff. So I had actually just had heart surgery. It was November of 23, so last year. And I had just got through this, and this was like January, I think, was when you hit me up.
I think so. Yeah, because we filmed in February, so it was January.
So he hits me up, and as a wrestler, male or female, and females can probably attest to this a lot more, you get a lot of random people who slide up in your DMs.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes, it's been a while, but I've gotten unsolicited dick pics. And a lot of people will request foot pics. So I have really big feet. So I get people that want foot pictures. Anyway, so I'm not used to just getting random things in my DMs. And there's some people who, might be special needs or something of that nature. And, they want to reach out to you and they want to talk to a wrestler and do stuff like that. So you talk back and you just keep it really light because you don't want to engage too much. So I get this huge message from AJ, and I'm like, what the hell is all this? So I read it, and I talk to her about it, and I'm like, I don't know if this is real or what's going on. And she's like, well, you should definitely just talk to him. And I was like, okay. So, yeah, we ended up setting up the meeting, and we talked, and I'm definitely a skeptic. So until, seeing is believing for me. So I didn't think any of it was real until it actually just really started to happen. And then I found myself in concrete, like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is real. So, well, I guess we are doing this. This DM really turned into something differently. He never, I'll go on record and say this, he never once asked for a foot picture. So I'm just going to say that.
Not yet. I'm saving it for the
Not
premiere.
yet.
That'll be I want that to be my rap gift. I want a Polaroid.
Just
I
my
do have a
giant foot.
Polaroid camera here. I'm just letting you know. So.
Ooh.
Get those size 18s out right.
How'd you get into wrestling? And when you said there was a pro wrestling scene in Bellingham, I was like, I need to talk to your friend Jason.
So I don't know, Jackson, you'd know more about this than I do. I don't know what promotion Jason was actually. He might have been driving to do Timber Pro when it was still around. I'm not really sure which one he was. Do you know which one? If you live in Bellingham, what's the closest promotion?
How far away is Everett from Bellingham?
I mean, it's like probably like
Hour and a half, couple hours, depending on traffic.
So there's it's called Peak Now. That's in Everett, and that's ran by some friends that I know that I've worked with before. They run the Dragonplex Pro or Dojo, so shout out to them, and Peak Entertainment. So there's that, and then there's a couple other organizations, smaller ones that are around. I'm not
so
quite
there are
sure
just
they run
wrestling
out of.
events like all the time here?
I mean, easily monthly, yeah.
What kind of venue, like what kind of place do you wrestle at in Spokane?
So my buddy and I, well, two of my buddies and I, we own Relentless Wrestling. Shout out to Relentless Wrestling. Follow us in the DMs. We run out of Players and Spectators in Spokane Valley, and then we run out of Northern Quest Casino. We started a lucrative deal with them as well.
So you have wrestling events at the casino?
We've had 2 last year, yes. Did really well with the first one. Second one was a little less than desirable. However, it was not a good time for just everybody. In general, it was just school starting. It was just not a lot of people were attending things.
Yeah.
But we still did pretty good. We're sitting around 800 for those big shows. We're trying to
800?
Yeah. So.
Wow, that's way more than I was thinking.
Thank you.
That's really cool. I was just thinking about, how many people watched the fight on Netflix last week.
Oh,
You
those
know.
old guys.
And-
the one old guy, and that stuff's fake.
And people could go see something similar, a little bit different,
way
but similar,
better, way better.
live right there. And
Yeah.
they could probably, do you get to do a meet and greet after?
Oh, well, during the shows, most of the wrestlers, we're out at our merch tables. You can come say hi, take pictures, buy merch, please. So
That's incredible.
So we can buy more merch to sell to you. It's just a
Yes.
cycle. A never-ending cycle. We never make money, so come buy our stuff.
The DM was real.
Yep.
AJ's not making any of this up.
He's not,
So you show up in
unfortunately.
concrete. Where did you show up in concrete? Like, where did you guys meet?
It was Bear Square.
It was Bear Square. I saw your head poking over a car.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we showed up. My girlfriend and I had never been there before, and into concrete. We've never been in this area of Washington, and so we drive through and we show up. And we're like, oh, well, this is just a little tiny ass town. Okay, and we sit there and start shaking hands and kissing babies.
Pretty much.
Did you meet Jeremy at the hub?
Yeah, Jeremy's the guy who's
first time.
You were living in his apartment.
Well,
for a
I know,
second.
but we didn't meet him at the hub, did we?
Not the hub. I thought you just meant that day.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not the
I met
hub.
him at some point. I don't remember when, but because
Yeah.
we stayed in his little rental spot the first 3 times.
Was it
3
3
times we stayed.
I don't remember.
Fun fact, I changed into my wedding dress there and I got married at the hub.
Oh, classy.
I know. I got married at the hub on July 21st of this past summer.
That's super classy.
I said, you guys can call this a wedding venue now. It was awesome.
Side note, I am an ordained minister. So
Are you?
Why did you not have me do your wedding?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what?
should be.
I did have a really tall guy at my wedding. Were you there?
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
I don't think I was there for any good photo ops, but I was late. But I made it.
You were late. I remember that.
Yeah.
Clay. How tall is Clay?
Clay's I think Wes said he's 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah. So he's not as tall as you, but he was our minister. So did you talk to him at some point about being?
No. So I actually talked by proxy. I talked to Cascade Cody about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
Cody had said you might want to get Clay to do it, but he suggested it at 2 points. One, when I had already shook hands with Yeti and we said he was going to do it, and then the next time that it came up was after I had talked to Jackson.
Oh, okay.
So there was really never a point that I actually went and spoke to Clay about it.
Okay.
He was just floated 2 different times that we had already had
Yeah.
somebody. So it's sort of just, I don't know, there's sort of a misconnection thing
Yeah.
with that.
Well, and speaking of Cody, what's the music soundtrack situation like for the film?
So the soundtrack, Cascade Cody did do a song for the movie that's on his, that was on the Satan Lives and Candy Bars album, but the actual sort of score behind the movie, my friend Jordan O-ring is doing it, and this is the craziest thing. We actually met him, or I met him when I was shooting something up on Lake Shannon really late at night, and he pulled up in his truck, and he said, "Hey, excuse me." And I walk over, there's nobody there in the middle of the night. It's, it might have been like 1 a.m. He goes, "Do you know anything about Devil's Tower?" And I said, "You found the perfect guy to ask about this." So we were talking for a million years, and he said, "Oh, gee, if you ever need music or something for this kind of thing, like I'd be down to do like an orchestral score or something." I said, "Okay, cool." And then we hung out a couple other times. He lives in Mount Vernon, so I'd be up and I'd be bored, and so I'd call Jordan and say, "Hey, I'm in the area. You want to go to the hub or whatever and hang out?" And he showed me some of his music just on a little flash drive, and it's really good. He basically, as a bit of a hobby, he basically makes these wonderful orchestral like movie soundtracks for movies that don't even exist. He'll say, "Okay, this is for a fantasy movie, or this is for an action movie," and they're incredible. They're really, really good. And so I said, "Jordan, if I was going to talk to the guy who did the last soundtrack to do this one, but I said, Jordan, if you want this, I want to give it to you right now." I said, let's just do it. So he's going to do the main actual score of the movie. So and he's the best. He shows up on set to help out, and he's doing stuff. He's doing the music. He shows up and he's lifting stuff for us and helping us with all kinds of stuff. So I love Jordan.
Is he from Concrete?
Jordan's from I don't know where he's from originally. He's from all over. I know
he's
he
very mysterious.
Well, he is mysterious,
He's
but
a very mysterious character. He kind of just shows up, and then he's not.
He is a mysterious.
He's like a shadow.
Well, you don't see him as much as that, but he is. He's from Mount Vernon, so
okay.
I think he's maybe lived a couple other places too. But I don't know that much about Jordan's backstory as much as.
See, he's very. He is part of Mount Vernon.
He's part of Mount Vernon.
He's part of Mount Vernon's history.
Yeah, he's always been there
from the mountain.
It's like one of those Goosebumps episodes where like the neighbor next door died in the 1800s or something.
Yeah, he's still there.
He's still there. Yeah.
Only you can see Jordan.
Everyone's like, "What are you talking about, Edge?" I'm like, "He's gonna do the music. It's gonna be really good."
Ghost in your score.
Yeah, I don't think, Jackson, you would say anything if I was talking to a ghost.
No, I wouldn't. I would just let you do it.
No, you'd say, "Okay, AJ."
I would feed into your paranoia.
I think you already do.
Yeah, this is true too.
I don't know. I feel like I want Bambi. Like this is a cool friendship. Like this, I can already tell. Like this is not just like a working relationship. Like this is meant to be.
Meant to be.
You guys are like stepbrothers. Who's in that movie? Will Ferrell
and then John C. Reilly.
Right?
I'm definitely Will Ferrell.
That's definitely
Will Ferrell. Why do you get to be Will Ferrell?
Because I have the voice of an angel.
The voice of an angel. Okay.
So you are here. It's roughly you got here at noon. The reason why we pushed it back was you texted me at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And said, "Can we move it back an hour?"
Yeah.
So are you doing all your filming at night?
Most of it. We have an agreement with the town of Concrete Town Council to use the Superior Cement Building. It's next to the fire station, the old cement plant building. We have access to use that for the filming to sort of be our double for Devil's Tower for the interiors. And there's another building that we've used as well for that. We're kind of cobbling some of those spots together. Because it's convenient, because when you have a space like that, it's all boarded up, so you don't need to shoot at night. It's pitch dark in there. So that's really the biggest benefit of that we can do during the day. But basically, we do stuff during the day sometimes, but we're towards the end of production, so we don't have a lot of day stuff to do left. Most of our stuff now is at night. And so we have to wait for it to get dark, and then we have to drive out to, usually it's Lake Shannon or somewhere like that. And it takes just a long time. So we go pretty much all night, usually. So the answer is pretty much yes.
So between the first filming and this filming, I guess what's changed for you in terms of how you're directing or how you're filming? Like, is it completely different, or it just feels like you're, doing it all the same, or are you using different equipment? Is your time better spent? I don't know. I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, the biggest. I mean, the biggest thing that feels the same is when we're out really late and we're in a really weird spot and we're really far out and it gets cold and it gets miserable. That begins to feel the same because I get kind of crazy, and I become a kind of a hard ass, and I become slightly maniacal, in the sense that I really just start to get into a certain other mindset, and then we're out until 4 a.m. and everyone wants to be free, and I'll say you can be free when we get it right or whatever. That feels the same, but the structure has really, really changed, because the first movie, I mean, the dirty secret about that is it was mostly actually shot out of town, just in the woods. The stuff that was at Devil's Tower was Devil's Tower in the first movie, but the stuff that was just generic woods and whatever wasn't. It was wherever it was closest to our actors. We'd just go in the woods and we'd film some stuff. And so I've had people say, like, there's a spot with a rope swing in that first one. And said, I have been there. It's up on Baker Lake. And I said, no, it wasn't. It was in Snohomish County, actually.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, So the biggest change is that the system is no longer me calling my buddies from high school, say, hey, let's just go to the woods near our house and do this, and we'll go to Devil's Tower like once or twice a month or something. Now, I mean, I pack my truck up with a ton of stuff. We go and stay up there. I stay at my friend Jared's place. We sleep on the floor of the couch usually, and we really just hole up here and stay here, and we're in the woods all night. Then we go to Jared's. There was a cot in his backyard that I was sleeping in for a while in the summer because it keeps his house really hot, and I like it to be a little breezy. So I would basically, the routine would be film all night long, and then come back at you get back at 4:30 in the morning. I'd lay down on the cot with my shoes on. I'd sleep for 4 hours, and then I'd sit up, and then I would put my jacket on, and we'd go back and we'd start doing the morning stuff in Superior, where it still looks like night inside the building. So the biggest thing is just the structure of, we definitely live in it more. Like, there's not so much of a divide between I don't know how to say it, but just it's definitely, I think it's just living in it. There's not so much of a break between, okay, guys, we'll do this after school or we'll do this after whatever. Now we set aside time, and there's just much more of a structure where we have spaces that we have our permits for. We basically live between a few Lake Shannon, Superior Building, all these different spots. So I think it's just the structure of living in it. I think that's what it is. It's different.
And Jackson is in Spokane, and you work full time?
Yes.
What do you do for work?
I'm an investigator for the state.
Okay. So if you work full time, obviously he can't, and because you live so far away, can't just get up and, go to the woods for a few hours. You have to plan out all this stuff. And so when you had your high school buddies doing it, probably same situation. They were just, high school or college and just maybe weren't doing a lot. They're like, I only have one class. It's fine. I can skip it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, the actors you have, do they have jobs? And I can cut this out if they don't.
No, they do. No, they do. And,
okay.
And you just said it much more eloquently than I did. I stumbled so much with that answer. Yeah, so it's definitely, they do have jobs. Almost every single person works full time. Some of them, Sam, I think, works 3 jobs right now, maybe 2.
Wow.
I think it's 2 or 3. Evan is working 2. So it's really, it becomes, because there isn't that just, hey man, can you make it down real quick?
You have to be more efficient.
Yeah, we have to be more efficient, and we have to just set aside time. It's just much more scheduled and much more planned. I talk to everybody a month or 2 in advance, and we know this weekend is going to become, we have to live in this movie space for the whole weekend, and it's just going to be brutal, and it's going to be all these things. There's just no other way to do it except to just call your boss and say, okay, in 2 months, I'm going to take 2 days off right here, and then we go out there, and then we just live in it, and then we come home. So it's definitely different than that touch and go kind of a thing.
And I forget, do you work full time?
No, this is one of my, I do some pet sitting, I do some odd jobs, and then I really do a lot of this. I'm kind of a freeloader in that sense.
No, don't say that. This is your gig.
He's a freeloader.
Spoken like a true stepbrother.
No, I wouldn't have it any other way. Or maybe soon. I'd like to not be doing just this, but I'm having a great time doing just this for now. I'll be 22 only for a second, so I'm enjoying doing it this way.
So your first movie that came out, I almost think about with this podcast when I first started, I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't care if anyone listens. I just want to do it. But the more I do it, now I feel like I've reached a certain level where I don't want to, I want to take it. I don't want to say more seriously, but I've learned so much. And so with every episode, I sort of have this idea of the quality I want to put out. Did you feel that when you're doing this, is there a bit more, maybe it's self-imposed pressure, but it's not just your first movie and people are like, oh, you did a movie. We don't care how it is. You did it. We were talking about that before, start with rubbish, just put something out. It doesn't matter how bad it is. But this is your second movie. Do you feel that there's a bit more pressure there to make it a lot better?
Yeah, actually. I was just talking to everybody about this when we were on a bit of a hike last night back from one of our locations. I feel actually quite a bit of pressure on this one to really go 100,000% because we're in a really interesting intersection of, we have enough structure to actually really reach and grab and do this, but we actually, the lacking in certain levels of, I suppose, resources or clout or whatever is almost freeing in some sense. And what I mean is, we're at the perfect time where you can't, if you're Steven Spielberg, there's rules and stuff. You can't go actually just fuck around in the woods and go beat the hell out of people and all this stuff that we're doing. And there's union rules, all these things, which are, like not knocking it or whatever. But I feel a lot of pressure. There's a very finite moment in time where we are competent enough to do this, but we are low-key enough to kind of do it in a very sort of, I guess, bootstraps kind of a way. It's hard to explain exactly what I mean by this, but I think there's something really, I think there's a lot of potential in getting something really, really special with the resources that we have available. Like you have the abandoned cement plant. You can't mess around in an abandoned cement plant and start throwing people around in there forever. You almost really have one shot at this, because eventually stuff's going to get torn down, and eventually either one, life takes over too much and I don't have the time to do this anymore, or two, even if this becomes something a little bit bigger, a little bit more slick or whatever, then you're not allowed to go mess around in an abandoned cement plant and throw people around and all this stuff. So I feel like I love the idea that we have. I'm really, really passionate about just the crew and the story and everything that we have on this production. And I feel pressure in making sure that we realize it 100,000%, because it's not like if I mess this up, we get, oh, well, sure, if I get more money or more time, I can do it again. I feel like those things aren't coming. We're at that. I feel like this only works in the time and place that we're doing it. And things will eventually change to the point that I think once we're done with this, I don't think it's possible to make another Devil's Tower. I just don't think it's going to be something that I can do, the rest of the people can do. I really feel like I've been really carving pieces of myself out figuratively just to make this work, because I just don't know when the opportunity like this comes around ever again. You don't find somebody like Jackson every day. You don't find a lot of the people that are in the place in their lives that they are to come and be able to do all this for me and do it at the level we're doing it. So I feel like we're at a perfect intersection with a perfect group of people, and I feel a lot of pressure. Like if I mess that up, I'm always going to see the potential, and if I don't want to see on screen me wasting that potential. I want to see it 100,000% realized, even if we have to go until 4 a.m. and it's brutal and it sucks. So that's the pressure that I'm at right now, is that I really need it to be everything that I know that it can be. So that's where I'm at.
And I feel that when people hear stuff like that, or think oh, I wouldn't want to be under this much pressure, pressure is fine. There's nothing wrong. Obviously, extended pressure for a very long time is not healthy. But I think that a lot of people don't do the things that they want to do because of that feeling of being anxious, or that feeling of pressure. Or you said a couple times, you said, I made several embarrassing phone calls, and I think you also called them desperate phone calls.
Yes.
And people don't want to do that step. And we talked about this before, how, the muse is these angels are right behind you going, I'm going to show you how to make your movie. Just make that embarrassing phone call to someone first, and then I'll show you the next step. And so when I do my podcast, if for some reason the audio doesn't quite work, I would feel so embarrassed and just terrible, because that person told their story for over an hour and then I wasted it. And then as you were talking, I thought, oh God, he must be under so much more pressure, because people aren't just visiting a studio. They're taking time out of their lives to travel across the state, to film in all these locations. And yeah, that is a lot of pressure. So I love that you're doing it though. And I mean, this is obviously what you're supposed to be doing.
I like to think. I think so. I don't think I'll ever cut it out. I think I've caught the bug too badly. Jackson, do you feel pressure about this kind of thing, or is it
when he's filming? Do you feel oh gosh, I have to get this done in one take?
Do you want to make sure I like it, or do you not care?
Man, I don't know. So he always calls me before we do our weekends and asks me how you feeling? That's my AJ voice.
It sounds like
how you feeling, guys? Are you ready for this weekend? And my answer every time is, I don't know, I'm not there yet. Well, what do you mean you're not there yet? I say, well, I'm not there. I have to go through step by step. So step one for me is getting my ass over here to this side of the state. So that's the first thing I focus on. So I got that drive. Once I'm over here, then it's, okay, now we need to get into character and we need to start going. And so it takes me a minute to ramp up, especially depending on how we go, because sometimes we start really high, sometimes we start low. Friday was a little lower, so it was harder for me to really get going with certain things. But if we start really high and I can get running into it, I don't really necessarily feel pressure. and that just might come from my daily life. I've done so many things, and then being a wrestler too, you kind of have to put that stuff on hold because you're there to entertain. So I treat what we're doing the same way I would if I was having a wrestling match, where, you know, all that stuff needs to go on the back burner because I have a job to do. My job is to entertain, even though the only people in there are the actors and our lighting people. So, but they're entertained. You ask any of them when we get going in some of our scenes, and they're like, damn, that was intense. That was so cool. And we're talking, this is 5-10 seconds of entertainment, but they're like, man, that was so cool. And so you're giving them that 5 or 10 seconds, however real or fake, I used air quotes, you guys can't see that, it might have been, then everybody will be entertained in that moment. And so it's just, I don't know, you just go into it. And so I don't think about pressure really.
Do you think the way that he's throwing people around, people will be able to tell that he's a wrestler?
I don't know. I think they'll think he's pretty scary. But see, you know what it is? I think people who watch wrestling might see sort of the, sort of the wrestling flavor on. We have it. We definitely have him do some. We have him do a backbreaker on somebody at one point, and these are just performed a certain way. There's a certain way that if you're brought up in that field, that stuff, that they do that versus, in a lot of Hollywood stuff, they got wires and stuff. You can tell he's doing it the way that wrestlers do it. But I'm not sure if somebody who's not really keyed into that kind of thing is going to think, oh, that guy must be a wrestler. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that, because one thing that I brought to this, well, it's pretty much aside from my physicalness, the thing I brought was my wrestling knowledge. And so while AJ had everything storyboard in all of our fights and everything we were doing, it was once we actually got to these and he's like, okay, this is what I want you to do, and do this step A, B, C, and D. And I went, that's not going to work for me. So, well, what do you mean?
Like Hulk Hogan.
Yes. I'm not going to do the job, brother.
Yeah.
So I would tell him, like, no, this isn't how I would punch, or I don't like doing punches. And so, there's like one punch in the whole movie that I do? One or two?
I think it's the barbed wire on Sean is the only punches.
Okay, yeah. He had way more punches, but I took all that stuff out because I was like, I don't like punching. Let's take this out of here because this is what I like to do. These are what I do as a big guy. And so I started educating him on wrestling and the wrestling psychology of storytelling and how that works. And once we did that and we got together and really started to figure that out, we restructured the fights to each fight is its own little story. And you have your ebbs and flows, just like you should in a story, where, everybody's going to watch and go, okay, big guy is definitely going to win. But there's a few moments where you think, maybe he's not in this one. And that's what I like, because you give the hero, you give them their hope moment. You give them their spot. So we're like, okay, maybe, oh shit, his head just fell off. Okay, well, that didn't work. Well, on to the next one. So a lot of that stuff that I brought in, it was really moves that I would do, but then it was also being safe. He was telling me about the last Hockett, the guy that played him, and how they were doing some of those stunts. And I was like, no, we can do this 1,000 times safer. And, we'd sit there. So, for instance, there's this one, we do some head smashing, right? And when we first doing it was like, I don't want to get my head hit. I'm like, don't want to get my head hit. I'm like, no, we don't have to do that. Just watch. This is how we'll do it. I place my hand in a certain area, and then we do it like this, and we start doing it, and they go, wow, that was awesome. It looks so violent, but didn't even feel anything. I'm like, yeah, that's the way you want to do it. That's what we're trying to do. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody. Now, have people gotten hurt? Yes. They have. Mistakes get made. People get hit. But that's just the business, and we don't have stunt doubles or anything like that. But just going through and choreographing the fights using my wrestling knowledge is what really, I think, compared to a lot of other things, especially at this level, you'll see is just going to be worlds above, because these fights are very meticulous and everything that we've done, and they're crafted in such a way that they look brutal as hell, but in reality, they're pretty damn safe.
And I love that, because you never considered that. When you were just looking for a big guy.
No, we were just looking for somebody who would be humongous, and it was just part of it was just a continuity thing. We had a big gun last one, and the big gun last one, I thought, well, who's scary? A big dude. It was just pretty simple. But no, the minute that Jackson got onto set and was talking about this stuff, I was like, okay, this is a whole nother level. And there was stuff that I didn't even know that we could do until he said, well, gee, I wish we could do this. And I'm like, well, what do you, I said, well, yeah, if only we could without breaking his neck. And he'd say, no, I can do it. And so we'd say, okay. And we, like the biggest one, I mean, I didn't know, should I spoil the,
half spoil. No, you can do it. We'll talk about it. It's a podcast.
Okay. So we have a scene, we won't disclose who, somebody gets choke slammed onto the hood of an old car or an old truck. And when the guy who was playing the person who had been choke slammed or was going to be, that whole scene was done without the choke slam in the script at all. And he was driving away. And Jackson said, I really wish I could have picked Dustin up and choke slammed him on the hood of the car.
You just said his name. You gave him away.
It's the actor, not the character. You're fine.
Everybody knows who he is now.
Oh, no. I can't show my face in this town ever again.
I'll bleep that out.
But anyway, and that's the exact thing I said. Well, that'd be great, but you rip him in half, because it was Jared's old. It's like an '81 Ford or something. It's really boxy and steel.
Toyota. You are literally going to get emails.
I'm going to get emails
about this now.
Okay.
Millions of people listen to this.
Millions.
I'll send them back your feet pics.
Shit.
But anyway, that's when Jack said, "Oh no, I can do that." So we had Sean, my friend Sean, who's the other kind of main star of this movie. I would call him the protagonist, but I can't say that in front of Jackson.
I'm the good guy in the film, by the way.
Jackson is the good guy.
I am the good guy.
But
I also changed the script as well.
Sean booked it down this. He was running down this mile-long driveway. It's actually John Boggs' driveway that we were shooting on.
Oh, nice.
And he booked it down to chase Dustin down. Like, Dustin. And he couldn't even make it. So we called Dustin. He had just gotten home to, like, his wife and his, just to go settle in. And I said, Dustin, can you please come back and get chokeslammed on the hood of this car? Because it'd be really cool. And he was like, man, I just got home. But okay, well, that'll be pretty cool. So we'll come back and do it. Came back and did it. It was great. And that was probably the biggest, like, almost watershed moment where I was like, Jackson is bringing a whole other level to this. And I also had a pressure where I was like, I don't, that's like walking and talking production value, this guy. We're talking a statistical anomaly, by the way, that you can even find a guy that has the physical stature that Jackson does, and he's also in shape and can do all these things. He could just be some string bean normal dude, but he's not. So I just thought about, like, the literal chances of having this guy are so slim, and I have the ability to work with him. And that actually added probably the most pressure out of the whole thing, besides just conceptual stuff, was the idea that, like, oh, God, if I mess this up, and people say, well, gee, he didn't look that big, or he didn't look that scary. I mean, oh, my God, I would be in my head forever. So Jackson really, he's right. He taught me the ring psychology a little bit for the fight scenes, and bringing together our two schools of thought on how to get these done has been my favorite kind of creative part of making this, because it's just such an extra level. You write the script and you direct it and whatever, but it's such an extra level to be on set and be able to bounce back and forth to such a degree, and you watch the product get so much better right in front of you. And I really like that about working with Jackson. And I'm being too nice to him, but
I love that you learned all that. I know one thing that you really focused on too was you were saying how you didn't like any new kind of fancy special effects. That you were just all about, like, the old school.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm
thinking about the makeup specifically.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I really like the old school horror movies in general, but the old school effects especially. Yeah, I just think they were better.
Did you still, like? I'm trying to think what that was. What was your blood? Was it peanut butter and?
No, the blood was that was for a different movie than this, but it was Caro corn syrup in food. It's I think it's 3 drops of red food dye and maybe 2 drops of blue.
Oh yeah,
and it's corn syrup.
And did you obviously still stick to that?
That, and we've cheated. We have some Halloween store blood in the truck. So
you went to the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah, well, you can get those gallon things when they're going on clearance. So no,
you had a gallon of fake blood.
I've got a couple of gallons.
More than that.
We've
gone through a lot of blood.
We've gone through a lot of blood. We have a little blood. We have a water spray. We call it the tears bottle and the blood bottle, because we spray people's eyes up and their face if they've been crying or sweating or whatever. So the tears, and then we have the blood. Because if you shoot, that cement plane is dusty and you dry out fast. So all of a sudden your bloody nose is all dry, and it's been when you cut the shot together, it's supposed to be 2 seconds later. So we have to always be re-bloodying people. So it'd be like a bad cat. Always spritzing them again.
In between every shot.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting blood on their face or water in their hair.
Yeah, and you don't have to ever do that. You just put your mask on.
I don't.
I should have brought the mask in here. It's in the truck.
I hate that mask.
The mask is like, what is that, like a 1/4 inch thick steel, you think?
It's too heavy.
It's ridiculously heavy. I can show
really?
you after the show. It's. Have you seen a photo of what Jackson looks like in this movie?
I don't.
Let me pull up a
I
photo.
can't remember.
We can also cut this out.
Don't tell your husband you're going to look at it because you might.
Oh, you.
I'm just saying, Hockett is a sex symbol.
Oh, he's a sex symbol.
Not only am I the hero of the movie, I'm the sex symbol of the movie.
So this is what Jackson.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
That's steel.
Yes.
Oh wow.
It is hard and heavy.
Oh man. Wow. That's crazy.
We've got, hold on, and this is when we take the mask off. We've got this nice thing going on with him.
That's hideous.
But I love.
Hey! Let's not body
good way.
shame over
Here's
here.
you can see that thing is humongous.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but it's not. I love the mask. I know Jackson doesn't like wearing the mask, but I am.
Where'd you get the mask from?
So the mask was basically. I'm pretty superstitious in or I should say sentiment. I am superstitious, but sentimental is the right word for this. I'm very sentimental, and I wanted a mask for Hockett that spoke to the industrial kind of feeling of Devil's Tower, and I thought I needed it to be, one, logistically something that this person would wear and a crazy person might make to cover their face, and two, something available, and then three, thematically something that fit. I thought a big piece of steel. There's all kinds of old scrap metal in the cement plant and stuff. And so I really wanted to do that, but I didn't want to just just get a piece of sheet metal and do it or whatever. And I didn't care where it came from. I wanted a real piece of steel there's a bunch of different derelict buildings from the Superior Cement Company. There's stuff in town, there's stuff up in the hills. I just wanted a piece of the Superior Cement Company steel from one of the leftover buildings to make Hockett's mask. Just a sentimental thing, a superstitious thing. I thought it would be just sort of a good thing. And so it took a million years. I was insisting on using that. I got some. It was really, really thick. It was a giant piece of an old conveyor belt. And I took it to 3 welders who each said, you can't make a mask out of that. Or they say I could, but no one could wear it. They'd say, I don't have the time or whatever. I went through 3 welders who said that they were not going to make a mask out of this humongous conveyor. And it was like up to my shoulder. It was really, really big. I was like, you just cut this down and make a mask out of it? Eventually I found a guy, a friend of mine in Lake Kavanaugh. And he said, yeah, I'll make a mask out of that. And he made a prototype out of sheet metal. He said, okay, use this. I said, no, I want this big steel. And he said, no one's going to be able to wear that thing. And I said, Joe, I said, just trust me. I said, can you just make, just for me, I'll put it on my desk. Just, can you make the steel mask? And he said, sure, yeah, let's be heavy. So he made the mask out of the steel. I thought, this is great. And Jackson did not know how heavy it was until I gave it to him. But I love the mask.
Have you weighed it? Like, do you know?
I should weigh it. I think
Okay.
it's pretty. I bet it's 2-3 pounds.
No, it's good. I don't know. It's so hard to tell. It's just, at first it's fine, but then the problem is it sits on your neck for a long time, and it just really starts to weigh you down. So in between shots, I try to take it off the best I can just to give my neck a chance to relax as it gets real heavy. But since we're talking about this mask, the mask of the devil, so not only is it stupid heavy, but you can't see out of it. The eye holes are so small.
That's
I have
creepy,
zero
but-
peripheral whatsoever.
That's why it's scary.
So my vision is unlimited. And then on top of that, I have an eye that is contacted. So I have no vision out of my left eye. So I have my right eye with limited peripheral vision and this heavy ass mask. And let me tell you what, severely inhibits some things that I try to do.
Are you fighting people in the mask?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can
You
show you.
can't see.
No, so this is what's funny is obviously when AJ came up with the whole mask idea, he did not take into effect how it would affect everything else that the person or the wearer was doing. So he's like, oh man, you just got to do this and run and jump and do a flip. I'm like, okay, first off, like that's not going to work with this mask on. It's going to fall off.
I never
and
told
I
him to do a
can't
flip.
do that. And he's like, no, you'll be fine. So then I move and it
You were
falls
fine.
off.
He was fine. I
So
listen. You say all that, but we found a way to do every single thing we've needed
We
to.
did.
And when people look at the film, nobody says, "Oh, it looks like you can't move that thing." It looks totally fine. It looks great.
the mask does fall off a few times.
That's all cut.
But, yeah,
that's
we
not
cut
in the
all
film.
that out.
That's
Does
in
just
the-
make the loudest sound ever.
Yeah,
when it falls.
it does.
Like
I think it fell on somebody at one point too.
It
Really.
almost fell on Evan when you flipped
Almost.
over your shoulder.
You have to be really well. So that's the problem. This thing is heavy and it's sharp in areas, right?
Well, you busted Dustin's
So,
nose open.
Yeah.
with,
So I do a headbutt and pop, got him and just smashed his nose open. And I barely hit it. It's It's fucking lead.
Is the bar scene in the movie?
Yeah.
Am I in your movie?
Yeah, you're in the you're in the
You're star.
I totally forgot.
yeah, you're in like the crowd of people at the
when
hub.
was that?
It's like
a year ago?
Like a summer ago or something.
It was a year ago, and we were all in the hub,
Mm-hmm.
and Lisa and I were sitting at a table.
Yep, you guys were talking.
And we were talking about the red carpet. That oh my gosh, I just remembered that.
Yeah, no, that's still in there. See, people think everything that I've shot, even if it's been like a year ago, it's still on my computer and it's edited. It's in the timeline. There's other stuff we gotta, I tell people it'll be out eventually.
Yeah. When you guys were just telling the story about the mask falling off, Bambi was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so bad," and I was just thinking, I'm curious, like, what she thinks about all this. Do you mind if I pass you this mic?
No, that's fine.
You want to tell me some? Oh, and also tell me how you met Jackson. Let's hear this.
Oh,
story.
that's actually
How you
a
met
really great
Jackson.
story.
Jackson.
So Jackson,
You met Jackson.
used to work with my brother actually in CPS.
Was a different guy.
And my brother, our birthdays are really close together. So we were having a birthday beer together, and he's like, I work with this 7-foot guy. Do you go to Scarywood? He was telling me about his character that he played at Scarywood. And he's like, you can't miss him. I'm like, I literally have to look up at him. And I was like, no, I don't know who you're talking about, He's like, well, I think you guys would really hit it off. I think you have a lot in common. Would you care if I gave him your phone number? And I was like, well, no, go ahead. You've never once in our life wanted to set me up with anybody, so you must really like this guy. So a couple weeks passed. He never told Jackson about me. But I happened to find him on Plenty of Fish. Of all dating apps. Found him on Plenty of Fish. I'm like, it has to be
I'm
the
a
same
shark
guy.
on there, by the way.
7 foot, works for CPS. So I messaged him. Asked him if he worked with my brother. He thought I was a client. But we got past that. Talked for a couple weeks. Went on a date. And the rest is history. Oh, that's how we met. But it has been really fun being a part of making this movie and being part of the crew and seeing what goes on behind the scenes.
I was just thinking, what is he making you do? What are you?
Terrible things.
I'm actually I volunteer. I volunteer a lot of my time, and I'm happy to do it. It can be grueling. Yes, we get pissed off at each other by the end of the 14, 15 hours that we've been filming. But I think it's been a really, really great experience, a really, really fun experience. And I'm very proud to be a part of this. And I think AJ has a really, really wonderful talent and an eye for this. So,
Can you share one of your favorite filming stories? Without giving away the plot.
oh my gosh. There was...
Which one are you?
I'm thinking it's
when I hung
the
dong?
scene with Evan. No, it's the scene with Evan where he picks up the bar and smashes your knee.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not even gonna be in there anymore.
Why was that your favorite?
Because it was didn't you? I think you accidentally hit Evan with it.
No,
And-
I hit him
you're talking
afterwards.
about-
You're talking when I hit him or when he hit me?
Yeah, they both hit each other with
'Cause
that
those were
bar,
two
so I can't
different-
remember who.
But it was with the lead pipe.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
with the lead
Are you talking
pipe.
when he punched him?
Okay, so
Yeah,
here,
you accidentally punched
so
him. That's
here's
what
the
it was.
story. Well, we had this fight with one of our characters, Eli, and I have this piece of rebar and I'm punching at him. So one of the reasons I didn't like to do punches, like I told AJ, I took it out. The mask
really bad at
severely inhibits my peripheral vision, so I have no depth perception. And so we practiced this punch a few times, and I'm telling Evan how I'm going to do it. He's like, "Okay, cool." So I go in full speed. He leans too far forward, and I have a piece of rebar, a good 2-3 pounds.
It wasn't. It was a lead. It was a lead pipe.
was a
not
lead pipe.
rebar.
So a good 2-3
It's like a roll of
pound
nickels in
piece
your
of
hand.
metal. Smash him full contact in the face. He goes down. I pull back and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh.
And AJ's like, that was perfect.
That is so not how that.
Oh
happened.
my
no,
God.
that is not how
Evan-
that
You are
happened.
Such a liar.
That is not.
Evan runs out
motherfucker.
because he's so angry, and
is
I'm
not
like,
true.
dude, that's our shot. That's the shot because it was pure real and it looks so good on film.
I need to take a whole addendum on the entire third act. of
Yeah,
that story.
that is not
Hold
what
on.
happened.
He's right about everything, including Evan. But Evan had to start on the ground, and so basically what's happening is Eli's trying to get up, and he gets up, and Hockett pops him in the head to go back down, just to sort of check him. And so because Evan has to scramble up, it's hard to really get your mark really steady because you're in the middle of a mad dash and a scramble. So he scrambles too far forward. Jackson, of course, can't see the distance, and he pops him in the head. That's all true. He goes down like a sack of potatoes. That's all correct. That said, after that, everyone was completely dead silent. We turned off the light, so it was pitch dark in the room. And Evan, I was like, Evan, are you good? Are you good? And Jackson goes, just give him a second. Puts his hand out. Just give him a second. Sean and Evan are like best buddies. They were roommates for a while. Sean and Evan went took a walk, went out of the building to go take a walk and take 5, and we're staying there in darkness, and nobody's saying anything. And Jackson leans over and he says, "Can I see the shot?"
It was beautiful.
So that's how it happened.
But before all of that, it was that little. It was at the very end of that shot that AJ caught it, and Jackson. You see Hockett actually go like this, over his mask.
This is
over
an
his
audio
mask,
medium. She just put her hand over her mouth.
Yeah, Hockett
in a gasping motion.
Hockett does like a little pearl clutching gasp with over his mask.
I felt really bad.
Well, and I felt bad too because I literally went.
Oh,
and I thought it was. I thought I got it.
Oh God,
it was on film.
It is at the end, but you can cut that out pretty easily. That was the full version of that is so funny. Where you hear you start to gasp right as it cuts, and then you see the. And also, Evan screamed after he hit the ground. So when he gets hit, he just goes down immediately, and then he goes, "Oh!" when he hits the floor. Or after he hits the floor, it's like a delayed scream because it wasn't like I'm dazed. He screamed like he had just been punched after he hit the ground. It was incredible.
It was delayed motion.
That's only the first time you punch. Me and Olivia had a debate if you punched Evan first or when you accidentally knuckled Olivia in the head.
That was weak. I didn't do much to her.
Well, she was debating which one happened first. I think hers actually did.
I got her first, and then Evan was after that.
Yeah, and neither of those, by the way, are going in the movie. So neither of those. So I'll probably use the sound effect of you actually hitting Evan though somewhere.
That's got to.
Yeah, the sound is really good.
Brutal.
So that'll go somewhere into one of the scenes. Probably maybe when you hit the one punch when you hit Sean. I don't know where it'll go, but it'll go somewhere.
Yeah, that scene with Evan was my most memorable moment. I think.
That was pretty good.
The whole movie.
That was pretty good.
It was funny.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was definitely a good one.
I was just thinking, did you guys have to cancel any filmings because of weather or?
No, we were really worried about this weekend though, but we were just going to tough it out, and it would have been only indoor shots inside the cement building in the Superior building if that had been the case, which would have really limited what we had to do. Thankfully, it hasn't snowed yet. Knocking on non-audio important wood, hopefully.
So, do you think you have another weekend or so in you shooting, and then you're good?
He's gonna say no.
Jackson says no.
Jackson will.
Jackson
will get a call in about 2 months where I'm
Hell
crying.
no.
You're gonna get a call when I'm crying.
This was originally pitched to me as a 3-weekend deal. We're on weekend 6, and I will say, to AJ's credit, I know that us rewriting all the fight scenes, and when I say all of them, I literally mean all of them, have been rewritten because of me coming in there. Had I not had my experience, it would have just went that way. But because of the rewriting, that definitely added time to it. But that being said, we are 3 weekends over what my projected deal was, and I have not been compensated. So
you have.
My estate
what
will
are
be
you
coming
talking
after
about?
that.
I paid you extra last time.
I need more.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Spoken
okay.
like a true actor.
I think you deserve. If you want me to pay more, you deserve it. Come on, you this guy.
He didn't tell you there was compensation for this, right?
For the podcast?
Yeah, you're not being paid.
He did. That's okay. I'll give this to you for free. I like you.
No.
You haven't done me wrong yet.
No,
yet.
Do you wrestle in Canada?
I have, yes.
Where'd you wrestle?
It's been a while. It was before COVID, so I was up in Abbotsford, and so my goal is to get back up there starting 2025.
You've got 2 scary movies down.
2 scary movies down. Yeah.
Do you have a rom-com in you? Like, do you think that
that'd
you're
be a lot of fun? Actually, I would be totally down to rom-com.
Because you've already the horror movie thing. You can do it. You know you can.
Is it passe before I'm even done?
Challenge? I mean, yeah. What about a challenge? Like, what do you think?
I really want to do something funny. I actually think the movie we're making right now is kind of funny. There's moments in something I really like about slasher movies is like, for a lot of it, they're kind of just a hangout movie. There's a good 45 minutes of every slasher movie that's the nicest camping trip you've ever seen, and it's friends having a good time, and it's filled with the best ones are filled with little quirky, funny character moments with the people, and then night falls and they get ripped to shreds. That's my
then a monkey is thrown into the wrench.
But I like that because I like to watch a movie where you get to watch some cool, kind of fun hangout vibes, summer feelings. And then, just right when you get bored of that, you get to watch some crazy shit go down. And that's what I like about those a lot. And so a lot of this movie, when it's daytime and it's just the actors, the camper actors, just the non 7 foot behemoths. I basically write, I feel like it's comedy stuff for them. They just funny back and forths. So I'd really like to do a comedy thing. Me and my friend Isaac have talked about it. We have this one friend, Simon. Simon's a really funny guy, and he was in the last Hockett movie. And we really want to do like kind of a Dude Where's My Car kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, thing with Simon, because he just has that. He's like an encyclopedia of like 2000s bargain bin comedy movies. I don't know why, but he knows every single one of them. And so that'd be fun to do something like that with him. So I think something funny would be fun. I don't know how well I can do romance. I mean, just because that'd be tricky, because people also don't. As hard as people do horror movies, if I said do a romance movie, I think it might be even harder to sell people, like get the actors. And rom-com would be fun. That would actually be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Jackson, you want to do a rom-com?
No.
Oh, this guy.
Step Brothers Part 2.
Yeah.
Starring you guys.
I could do a full comedy, but no rom-coms.
No rom-com? Well, we do the buddy comedy with you and Sean.
Ooh,
Buddy
yeah, I
cop
told you
movie.
I'm down for a buddy
Well,
comedy.
we can't even spoil it. We got to do the Rambo alien thing.
Our space movie.
We have to do a space movie.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
we
Wait for you guys to hear that. That's 2026.
2026.
That's in the pipe.
That's in the pipe. That is in the pipe.
Are we still doing the red carpet at the Concrete Theater?
I'm going to be really sad if it doesn't happen, because everyone talked to the big game saying, oh, AJ, we'll set this up for your red carpet. I miss a release date. And if nobody does it because I missed a release date, I'll be pretty bummed.
Val's like, no, I have a movie already on.
Yeah,
that
I'll be
date,
like,
sorry.
I've talked to Val about it. I'm confident Val will still show it.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's showing up at the red carpet and the limo and whatever. I mean,
Well, Lisa and I are going to plan that. But
I'll have my feelings hurt if you don't do it. So.
How do you go about, like, okay, so you make the movie, and then, like, how do you get the Pickford Theater in Bellingham to show it? How do you get, like, what do you do? Do you submit it to something?
Well, the Pickford thing, that was actually just because of that was because I knew some people at the university.
Did it play the Pickford?
It did.
Oh, I just said that. Okay.
No, it actually. I thought you knew about
I didn't know it. Okay.
No, the first one did.
Okay.
But that was just a one-time showing, just for the cast and crew and some friends, just because we knew somebody who had an in who said, "Yeah, can we please rent this out and film shows for a night?" So that wasn't like a real public screening thing. Sorry, I got distracted.
Well, I was just curious, like, how do movies get? I mean, I get how Hollywood movies like get to a theater, but like, how could your movie get to a theater?
Begging. That's real, because you can do film festivals.
You can make some embarrassing phone calls, desperate phone calls.
That's it. And listen, we'll see. I'll have whenever I talk to you after we're done this, maybe my answer will be totally different. But here's where I'm at on the distribution thing right now. Film festivals, people always say, is the thing to do. I think they're pageantry, and I think they're stupid. Because, one, you have to pay. Immediately you're putting your headspace into an people talk, we've talked about this, maybe you say, I'm an aspiring writer or filmmaker, where you just say you
I'm
are.
going to make this movie,
exactly.
I'm going to do this.
Film festivals, I think, incentivize that mindset, because you're there to pay them to watch your movie, and they might even say no and throw it out. And even if you get in, you're put up against your peers and your community in a competition. And I know people aren't bloodthirsty and evil and competing with each other, but the structure, I think, is competitive. I mean, obviously, there's prizes, there's all these things. I think that's just the wrong mindset to do it. I like the idea of, it's really hard to make a movie. Whatever movie you've made, you should say, I made a movie, and you can pay me if you want to watch it. I'm not saying I'm literally going to say that, but I'm saying, like, you need to present it like it's a thing to be proud of, and that people should want to see it. Not you pay someone $50, please watch it. You should say, hey, you should want to watch my movie. So my strategy, and we'll see how this goes. Concrete Theater, Val is just the nicest person in the world, so that was almost a cheat. But the other places that I want to go to for this one is basically say we have a couple angles. One, we are really, really niche because nobody knows about us. So indie places, they're like that. We're as niche as you can get because there's like 8 of us. So there's that. And then people also like a very specific flavor, I think. And Concrete has a specific flavor. What we're doing, I think, has a specific flavor. You can go to Seattle and say, we made this movie in the middle of the woods and it's crazy and it's extreme, and, sell it that way. That's kind of basically, I'm going to go knocking on the doors of smaller independent theaters that might pay attention to us and basically say, personality hire. Hey, please, I'm this guy. I'm an all right person or whatever, and here's my movie. And I think I'm just going to go, again, begging embarrassing phone calls and trying to sell the personality of what we've done. So we have a little family that made this movie. The whole town became a little family when making the movie. I feel like it's been a really community effort thing. So the short answer is, I don't know how the big guys do it. The way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to try to tell people our story and compel them to understand what this movie means to us and the people that made it, and hope they take a chance on it. The really important thing is to treat it as legit as possible, because it's, you fake it till you make it, and you have to be. If I'm not confident in it, if I say, well, gee, I want to be a filmmaker someday, or, please watch my amateur movie or my first feature or whatever, I don't watch. When people say that to me, I might watch it just to, like, if I know them, like, if a random dude said that, I'd say, well, okay, maybe, and I'd probably forget about it,
Yeah.
But you just have to have that sort of. I think you got to say it's the Field of Dreams thing. If you build it, they will come. Is my kind of philosophy.
Did you listen to Todd Warger's episode?
Yes, I did. It was really good.
So Todd Warger is the director for the Mountain Runners, this local documentary. Had you seen it? Have you seen it?
No, I have no idea what
You
you're
should check
talking
it
about.
out. It's really good. But did you ever watch the X-Files growing up?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
believe-
Do you remember the Smoking Man?
Yes.
Okay, so he's in the movie.
Oh.
And the reason why he's in the movie is because Todd called him and said, hey, do you want to be in this movie? And his agent guy got back to him and he's like, yeah, his minimum fee is this much money. And Todd said, oh, well, I can't pay that. I can only pay this much. And the guy's like, are you kidding me? And just basically hung up on him. And then Todd's like, okay, oh, well, I tried, just called up this guy in Vancouver and asked him, and he said no. But then the guy actually, the smoking man, called him and he's like, hey, or no, I think maybe the smoking guy, I think he talked to his agent. Anyway, the guy ended up showing up for $500, like,
Nice.
pennies.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Showed up, and he came to do it, and Todd was really, like, respectfully had everything lined up so he could just shoot it and leave. The guy ended up staying, I think, the entire day and just giving advice to the other actors, and it all happened because Todd's like, just dialed the number and called. So I like that idea too. Like, you were like, I'm just going to go knock on doors. Like, who cares how the big guys do it? Like, this is how you're going to do it. So I hope you do that. Like, show up at people's doors.
It's gonna have to be that way. And you mentioned all the effort that everybody else has put into this and respecting their time. If I ever sound super full of myself with how important I think this all sounds, it's all of. I feel like I'm full of. This is gonna sound just as insufferable, but I really believe in the team and all the effort that everybody else has put into this. If this was just me talking about my script, something that I just wrote, I wouldn't talk it up to the extent that I have in saying, like, this is real. People should, I'm going to say, you come watch this and go knock on the doors and stuff. Because I don't feel like, I just can't do that with just something that's just me and just my writing or whatever. But when you get Jackson here coming from Spokane, I barely talked about Sean, which is horrible because Sean is the MVP. He's like our final girl, basically. I mean, in the sense of he gets all the chasing and all the fights and everything. 100% of a trooper. He was so sore after one of our fights that we did with Jackson that he called out of work the next day, just lay in bed because of how physical this was. It's immense dedication. It's so cold out right now. Evan, for continuity, is doing a fight, and he's wearing a Seahawks shirt that it's been cut off into a muscle tee, and he's basically wearing no shirt. And
So he was in the woods last night.
Yes, until 4 a.m. And he was so
gosh.
cold, and he's fighting Jackson, and he's picking him, getting his head slammed into a wall, and all this stuff. And so that's what I feel like I have an obligation to those guys to be very, very full of our project, because if I don't, I have them do all this crazy shit. Some vaguely inhumane things. Me and Sean jumped in Lake Shannon to film with a waterproof camera in September. Late September, we did this. My feet turned white. It was awful. Sean, by the way, was in steel toe boots and full clothing for the scene, weighing himself. It was ridiculous. So if I come out here, anyway, so I'm just saying, if I come out full of myself, it's really, it's all about I have to talk this way, because if I don't, I'm letting down everything everybody's done for me. Because if they did all, I said, oh yeah, it's all right. Well, it's kind of lame, just a little movie. It's
like,
they're gonna be like, what the hell, man? We
for
just
this.
like, yeah, I risked my. They're like, I risked my life for this, and you're gonna talk about it like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So I have to talk about like 100,000% all the time.
Yeah. No,
So.
that's good. I like that. Well, and that's probably why so many people like bought into this movie as hard as they did, because you guys saw, like you were saying, like AJ's actually like the real deal. He's not just like this kid that's like, well, I think I kind of want to do this. Like, he knows what he wants to do, and he's going to do it right, And you were saying before, like, you get maniacal and you're like, no, we're doing it until it's right. Like, I mean, if you're going to drive all the way from Spokane, might as well do it right.
Can you show up at 3 a.m. and tell him that tonight?
Hell no. We're not doing 3 a.m.
Can
tonight.
we get? Can you show up at 2 a.m. so we can get him to 3 a.m.?
We're not doing 2 a.m.
Oh yeah, we had to move pretty much nothing practice.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
I know.
Well, we're actually, we're killing Gibson tonight too, right? We are.
You're killing Gibson?
Yeah, Gibson's in this.
Oh wow.
We should probably cut out the killing. We're getting Gibson tonight.
Are you going to kill Gibson?
I'm gonna smash his head in with my head.
You know what you have to do right now? Just touch his elbow, because his elbow is really hurting.
He's gonna wear an elbow brace. I think he said under his concrete baseball sweatshirt that he's wearing.
That's cute.
Yeah. Oh, don't do that. Gibson's a nice guy. You'd like him.
He's actually very nice. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll just post updates as they come.
Yeah.
I guess, how would you announce the release of it? Facebook, Instagram?
Probably on my Instagram. It's at AJ_lives17 on Instagram. Maybe the underscore might not still be there. It's one of those two.
I think it's there.
Is it there?
Yeah.
I don't remember actually.
Yeah.
It's AJ_lives17 with some degree of a variation, possibly on an underscore, possibly not. I will have, when we get closer and we have a trailer and stuff and all this, it'll get Devil's Tower will get its own Instagram at some point, but I'll announce that as well on my personal Instagram.
Oh, the movie will. Okay.
Yeah, you should follow me. And Jackson's pretty good at promoting. He's promoting all the.
I was
going to say
I was going to tag your wrestling company. What's it called again?
Relentless Wrestling.
Relentless
PNW is our socials.
Don't follow the wrestling for the movie necessarily.
Follow wrestling for wrestling. Follow me for everything else. Political views,
including those
climate views.
The feed pics are definitely coming. Just wait longer.
All right, so we'll plug the movie when it comes out sometime in 2025. We're not sure. There'll be a red carpet event at the Concrete Theater. Thanks, Val. And
thank you, Val.
Be on the lookout for all the details. And thanks for coming in, guys.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
This is great.